Hello, and welcome to Chapter 8 of Em and Mike Read a Book. I'm Mike. Oh, sorry, I've got that playing in the background. Sorry, I'm Mike.
I'm Em.
And we're reading The Count of Monte Cristo. I apologize. We've
We've
got
got
snacks.
we've got snack. Always have snacks, but this time it's
Messy
digestive
snacks.
cookies, which
I've gotten crumbs all
are
over
a
the place.
little crumbly.
Yeah. So I got a little distracted. But, let's plow forward. We just finished Chapter 7 where, Villefort, the lawyer,
Oh yeah,
was talking to Dantes. There was an interrogation.
yeah, and he discovered after looking at the letter that Dantes said he didn't look at. Dantes didn't look at.
Which we think he didn't.
I think so.
I think Dantes is completely innocent.
He's a pretty straight shooting young man,
But
but Villefort discovered that his own father,
who's a Bonapartist,
is caught up in this mess, and he's like trying to decide whether he can trust Dantes. And I think at the end of it, he's like, yeah, like he burned the letter, and he's like, Dantes, do you swear it? Do you swear this was the only letter you had, and it's just us? But I feel like it's still not gonna end well. I feel like he's still gonna throw Dantes under the bus.
Yeah, I think Villefort is gonna be kind of a bad guy here. Yeah, he's gonna. This letter, which might have ruined me, I will make my fortune now to the work I have in hand, which wasn't very clear. We're not sure what it is that he's doing.
Mysterious.
Yeah, we don't even know what's in the letter. So hopefully, all will be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, Chapter 8, La Chateau d'If. You want to start? I think I've started the last couple, so why don't you start this one?
Okay. We split the deef.
Split the deef.
All right. The commissary of police, as he traversed the antechamber, made a sign to two gendarmes, who placed themselves one on Dantes's right and the other on his left. A door that communicated with the Palais de Justice was opened, and they went through a long range of gloomy corridors, whose appearance might have made even the boldest shudder. The decorating is really bad. I think that's what it means. Pink and red together. The Palais de Justice. I'm like doing a mix.
Justice? You're not doing Palais de Justice?
I'm trying to
Yeah. No, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
Palais de Justice. It's right down the middle.
All right. Communicated with the prison, a somber edifice that from its grated windows looks on the clock tower of the Acul. After numberless windings, Dantes saw a door with an iron wicket. The commissary took up an iron mallet and knocked thrice, every blow seeming to Dantes as if struck on his heart.
Wait, what? What? Oh, a mallet. You have to pick. Oh, I have a feeling that a mallet maybe is another term for a door knocker in this case.
Oh, could be.
It's crazy that they just leave a mallet by a door. It's like that's how
you
that's
knock
the
on
doorbell.
doors?
Yeah, you just pick up this
nearby
mallet and just smack it. But all right.
The door opened, and two gendarmes gently pushed him forward, and the door closed with a loud sound behind him. The air he inhaled was no longer pure, but thick and mephitic. He was in prison.
Whoa, that was fast. That was like...
Yeah.
That was like a really sort of quick transition to just straight prison. I thought... So...
I think he's being kept there for now.
Right, and Dantes is like, oh, this is all just this is a great misunderstanding. I will be back at my wedding table shortly.
I bet he's like, this is going to be sorted, but I think he's a little freaked out still.
All right.
That's my impression. We'll find out. He was conducted to a tolerably neat chamber, but grated and barred, and its appearance, therefore, did not greatly alarm him. Besides, the words of Villefort, who seemed to interest himself so much, resounded still in his ears like a promise of freedom. It was 4 o'clock when Dantes was placed in this chamber. It was, as we have said, the 1st of March. Uh-oh. The fact that the author has to say the date is like weeks go by. And the prisoner was soon buried in darkness. The obscurity augmented the acuteness of his hearing. At the slightest sound he rose and hastened to the door, convinced they were about to liberate him. But the sound died away, and Dantes sank again into his seat. At last, about 10 o'clock, and just as Dantes began to despair, steps were heard in the corridor. a key turned in the lock. The bolts creaked, the massy oaken door flew open, and a flood of light from 2 torches pervaded the apartment. Take it away.
By the torchlight, Dantes saw the glittering sabers and carbines of 4 gendarmes. He had advanced at first, but stopped at the sight of this display of force. "Are you come to fetch me?" asked he. "Yes," replied a gendarme. "By the order of the deputy procureur?" "I believe so." The conviction that they came from Monsieur de Villefort relieved all Dantes's apprehensions. He advanced calmly and placed himself in the center of the escort. A carriage waited at the door. The coachman was on the box, and a police officer sat beside him. "Is this carriage for me?" said Dantes. "It is for you," replied a gendarme. Dantes was about to speak, but feeling himself urged forward, and not having neither the power nor the intention to resist, he mounted the steps, and was in an instant seated inside between 2 gendarmes. The 2 others took their places opposite, and the carriage rolled heavily over the stones. The prisoner glanced at the windows. They were grated. He had changed his prison for another that he was conveying him he knew not whither. Ooh, fancy. Through the grating, however, Dantes saw they were passing through the Rue Caisserie. Caisserie?
Yep.
And by the Rue Saint-Laurent and the Rue Taramie to the quay. Soon he saw the lights of La Consigne. Consigne? Signe. The carriage stopped. The officer descended, approached the guardhouse. A dozen soldiers came out. This is like a lot of people for this one guy.
Is this
like
10 at night?
10 at night. It must be a slow night. Like, I guess they're not worried about, like, drunken, disorderly conduct if they've got a dozen soldiers ready to, like, take in one prisoner. A dozen soldiers came out and formed themselves in order. Dantes saw the reflection of their muskets by the light of the lamps on the quay. "Yeah, can all this force be summoned on my account?" thought he. The officer opened the door, which was locked, and without speaking a word answered Dantes's question, for he saw between the ranks of the soldiers a passage formed from the carriage to the port. The 2 gendarmes who were opposite to him descended first. Then he was ordered to alight, and the gendarme on each side of him followed his example. They advanced towards a boat, which a custom-house officer held by a chain near the quay. This is like echoing in Dantes's head is like Villefort going, "It's just a procedure. Don't worry about it. You'll be back in your beloved's arm in no time. Just sign here."
So sad.
The soldiers looked at Dantes with an air of stupid curiosity. In an instant, he was placed in the stern sheets of the boat, between the gendarme, while the officer stationed himself at the bow. A shove sent the boat adrift, and 4 sturdy oarsmen impelled it rapidly towards the pillion. At a shout from the boat, the chain that closes the mouth of the port was lowered, and in a second they were, as Dantes knew, in the Frioul and outside the inner harbor. Everything going according to plan. I'll finish this paragraph and why don't you take over. The prisoner's first feeling was of joy at again breathing the pure air, for air is freedom, but he soon sighed, for he passed before La Réserve, where he had that morning been so happy, and now through the open windows came the laughter and revelry of a ball. Dantes folded his hands, raised his eyes to heaven, and prayed fervently. So this looks like Dantes. He's still in his, like, you know, celebration garb here. Is
Good
that
hat.
a little soul patch?
I think so. Oh, wait, no,
those
it's a
are
shadow.
just lips. Okay. Oh, I thought maybe there was like a little weird beard there, but yeah, it's just this shadow. And then we got these soldiers. These are gendarmes. This is the guy holding the chain for the boat.
He's like 19?
Yeah, he's pretty young.
Yeah.
And probably too young to know better. If the police are going to let you go, I don't think they're going to put you on a boat with a whole bunch of guards surrounding you. All right, why don't you take over?
Okay. The boat continued her voyage. They had passed the Tête de Mort and were now off the Anse de Pharaoh and about to double the battery.
Not sure what that means.
I don't know either. No. Maybe they're going like double time?
Okay.
This maneuver was incomprehensible to Dantes. "Whither are you taking me?" asked he. That's like, yeah, fancy for where.
Yeah.
"You will soon know. But still we are forbidden to give you any explanation." Dantes, trained in discipline, knew that nothing would be more absurd than to question subordinates who were forbidden to reply. and so he remained silent. The most vague and wild thoughts passed through his mind. The boat they were in could not make a long voyage. There was no vessel at anchor outside the harbor. He thought perhaps they were going to leave him on some distant point. He was not bound, nor had they made any attempt to handcuff him. This seemed a good augury. Besides, had not the deputy, who had been so kind to him, told him that provided he did not pronounce the dreaded name of Noirtier, he had nothing to apprehend? Had not Villefort, in his presence, destroyed the fatal letter, the only proof against him? He waited silent, and he makes a good point.
Yeah.
He waited...
Everything's gonna be fine.
He waited silently, striving to pierce through the darkness. They had left the Ile Ratonneau, where the lighthouse stood, on the right, and were now opposite the Point de Catalan. It seemed to the prisoner that he could distinguish a feminine form on the beach, for it was there Mercedes dwelt. Like that's where she lives?
On the beach? Just like she lives on a house on the beach?
I guess so.
Okay.
How was it that a presentiment did not warn Mercedes that her lover was in 300 yards of her?
I don't remember them being at the beach. He went to her place. I didn't realize they were down on the beach.
I don't remember either.
Okay.
One light alone was visible, and Dantes saw that it came from Mercedes' chamber. Mercedes was the only one awake in the whole settlement. Oh, this is horrible. A loud cry could be heard by her. But pride restrained him, and he did not utter it. Oh, come on. What would his guards think if they heard him shout like a madman? Does it matter?
Nope, sorry.
He remained silent, his eyes fixed upon the light. Oh, this is like Gatsby stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
The boat went on, but the prisoner thought only of Mercedes. An intervening elevation of land hid the light. Dantes turned and perceived that they had got out to sea. While he had been absorbed in thought, they had shipped their oars and hoisted sail. The boat was now moving with the wind. In spite of his repugnance to address the guards, Dantes turned to the nearest gendarme, and taking his hand...
Whoa! Imagine, you took the hand of the cop, your prison guard cop. Like, that's a great way to get a baton in the back of the head.
That is bold.
That's bold.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially since he was like, I don't think I can shout to my fiancé, but I'm going to take this dude.
Well, let me just make this gesture toward my prison guard.
Yeah. Comrade, said he, I adjure you, as a Christian and a soldier, to tell me where we are going. I am Captain Dantes, a loyal Frenchman, sought accused of treason. Tell me where you are conducting me, and I promise you on my honor I will submit to my fate. The gendarme looked irresolutely at his companion, who returned for answer a sign that said, I see no great harm in telling him now. And the gendarme replied, You are native of Marseille and a sailor, and yet you do not know where you are going? Is he going to, I was about to say Azkaban.
It's like Alcatraz.
Yeah, Alcatraz.
I have a feeling he's going to Alcatraz. Yeah.
On my honor, I have no idea. Have you no idea whatever? None at all. That is impossible.
You know.
You must.
Hey.
Are you an idiot?
Hey.
Are you an idiot?
You know.
None at all. That is impossible. I swear to you it is true. Tell me, I entreat. But my orders, your orders do not forbid your telling me what I must know in 10 minutes, in half an hour, or an hour. You see, I cannot escape, even if I intended. Unless you are blind or have never been outside the harbor, you must know. I do not. Look round you, then. Dantes rose and looked forward when he saw rise within 100 yards of him the black and frowning rock on which stands the Chateau d'If. This gloomy fortress, which has for more than 300 years furnished food for so many wild legends, seemed to Dantes like a scaffold to a malefactor.
Malefactor, yeah.
What's a malefactor?
I don't know.
Oh,
Let's quickly define malefactor.
Let's do a quick vocab check.
Malefactor. Malefactor. One who has committed a crime, a criminal, a wrongdoer, or evildoer. One who does evil or injury to another.
Okay, so...
It's the opposite of a benefactor. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Benefit, benefactor,
Yeah.
malefactor, sick, bad.
Malevolent.
Malevolent, yeah.
Okay, it's all yours.
"The Chateau d'If!" cried he. "What are we going there for?" The gendarme smiled. "I am not going to be imprisoned," said Dantes. "It is only used for political prisoners. I have committed no crime. Are there any magistrates or judges at the Chateau d'If?" There are only," said the gendarme, "a governor, a garrison, turnkeys, and good thick walls. Sick walls. Sick walls. They're so sick. Come, come, do not look so astonished, or you will make me think you are laughing at me in return for my good nature." Dantes pressed the gendarme's hand as though he would crush it. "You think, then," said he, "that I am a citizen to the Chateau d'If to be imprisoned there?" "It is probable, but there is no occasion to squeeze so hard. You are hurting me, sir. You are breaking my hand." "Without any inquiry? Without any formality?" "All the formalities have been gone through. The inquiry is already made." "And so, in spite of Monsieur de Villefort's promises?" "I do not know what Monsieur de Villefort promised you," said the gendarme, "but I know we are taking you to the Chateau d'If. But what are you doing? Help, comrades, help!" By a rapid movement, I was wondering when they were going to be like, okay, that's enough manhandling this guard. Which the gendarme's practiced eye had perceived, Dantes sprang forward to precipitate himself into the sea. But 4 vigorous arms seized him as his feet quitted the bottom of the boat. He fell back, cursing with rage. "Good," said the gendarme, placing his knee on his chest. This is the way you keep your word as a sailor. Believe soft-spoken gentlemen again. Hark ye, my friend. I have disobeyed my first order, but I will not disobey the second. And if you move, I will blow your brains out. That's okay. And this is in the late 1800s. I have a feeling that threat, that was like, they'd bleep school, that.
Yeah.
They'd bleep that on TV. And he leveled his carbine at Dantes. Carbine? So they've got like pistols. Is a carbine like a rifle or a pistol, or what's a carbine?
I have no idea.
Let's presume it's a pistol. Who felt the muzzle against his temple. For a moment, the idea of struggling crossed his mind, and of so ending the unexpected evil that had overtaken him. Suicide by cop. Interesting. But he bethought him of Monsieur de Villefort's promise. And besides, death in a boat from the hand of a gendarme seemed too terrible. This isn't how I want to go out. He remained motionless, but gnashing his teeth and wringing his hands with fury. Let me do 1 or 2 more paragraphs and then you take over. At this moment, the boat came to a landing with a violent shock. One of the sailors leaped on shore. A cord creaked as it ran through a pulley, and Dantes guessed they were at the end of the voyage, and that they were mooring the boat. His guards, taking him by the arms and coat collar, forced him to rise, and dragged him towards the steps that lead to the gate of the fortress, while the police officer carrying a musket with fixed bayonet followed behind. Take over.
Dantes made no resistance. He was like a man in a dream. He saw soldiers drawn up on the embankment. He knew vaguely that he was ascending a flight of steps. He was conscious that he passed through a door, and that the door closed behind him. But all this indistinctly, as through a mist. He did not even see the ocean, that terrible barrier against freedom, which the prisoners look upon with utter despair. They halted for a minute, during which he strove to collect his thoughts. He looked around. He was in a court, surrounded by high walls. He heard the measured tread of sentinels, and as they passed before the light, he saw the barrels of their muskets shine. They waited upwards of 10 minutes. Certain Dantes could not escape. The gendarme released him. They seemed awaiting orders. The orders came. "Where is the prisoner?" said a voice. "Here," replied the gendarme. "Let him follow me. I will take him to his cell." "Go," said the gendarme, thrusting Dantes forward. The prisoner followed his guide, who led him into a room almost underground, whose bare and reeking walls seemed as though impregnated with tears. Oh my God! A lamp placed on a stool illumined the apartment faintly. Okay, I'm picturing like an electric lamp, obviously, just like a
it's probably gas or
lamp.
Or oil or something.
I'm like, that's pretty nice, a lamp. He's got a lamp on a stool. The lamp illumined the apartment faintly and showed Dantes the features of his conductor, an under-jailer, ill-clothed and of sullen appearance.
You know what I'm reminded of? I mean, all right, let's first look at this picture. Dantes in the dungeon. So I don't think he's in his dungeon cell yet. I hate to think what this is for. I suspect that's his toilet. It's kind of a bummer.
It's so tiny though.
Yeah.
You don't think it's like one tiny bit of decoration?
No, I don't know what the story is here. I don't think there is any windows. This looks like a real bummer. And he's got all these guards here. This is probably his under jailer. And what I'm reminded of is the Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if you've ever seen or read the Shawshank Redemption.
Mm-hmm, I've seen it.
Okay, but the idea that like there's just someone in prison who's just like they're like, I was put here, I was wrongfully accused.
Right.
Like I'm also kind of reminded of The Fugitive. Like I'm reminded of all these modern films and books and stuff, right? Like, but the idea is the same. It's like there's this wrongfully accused person who's just gonna be so mad, and they're just gonna be like,
he's just burning with like
righteous revenge, like just
that's
like
a powerful motivator. Yeah, he's definitely gonna come out of this kicking butt with like a crazy beard.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming out undamaged. I have a feeling his happy days are over. Like if there's a section at the end where he's like, and they lived happily ever after. No, he didn't. This guy had major like PTSD. Mm-hmm. He would wake up sweating and screaming in the night.
Mm-hmm. Here is your chamber for tonight, said he. This is the under jailer. Mm-hmm. It is late and the governor is asleep. Tomorrow perhaps he may change you.
What?
Like a baby?
Chamber may change, maybe the room, maybe change the cell.
Okay, that makes more sense. In the meantime, there is bread, water, and fresh straw, and that is all a prisoner can wish for. Good night. And before Dantes could open his mouth, before he had noticed where the jailer placed his bread or the water, before he had glanced towards the corner where the straw was, the jailer disappeared, taking with him the lamp and closing the door, leaving stamped upon the prisoner's mind the dim reflection of the dripping walls of his dungeon.
Damn.
Dantes was alone in darkness and in silence. This is like torture. To not put him in a cell with a window, that's not prison, that's torture.
It's medieval.
Yeah. Cold as the shadows that he felt breathe on his burning forehead. With the first dawn of day, the jailer returned with orders to leave Dantes where he was. He found the prisoner in the same position, as if fixed there, his eyes swollen with weeping. This is horrible. He had passed the night standing and without sleep.
What?
The jailer advanced. Dantes appeared not to perceive him. He touched him on the shoulder. Edmund startled. Go for it.
Have you not slept? Said the jailer. I do not know, replied Dantes. The jailer stared. Are you hungry? Continued he. I do not know. Do you wish for anything? Anything? I wish to see the governor. The jailer shrugged his shoulders and left the chamber. Dantes followed him with his eyes and stretched forth his hands towards the open door, but the door closed. All his emotion then burst forth. He cast himself on the ground, weeping bitterly and asking himself what crime he had committed that he was thus punished. The day passed thus. He scarcely tasted food, but walked round and round the cell like a wild beast in its cage. One thought in particular tormented him, namely that during his journey hither he had sat so still, whereas he might, a dozen times, have plunged into the sea, and, thanks to his powers of swimming, for which he was famous, have gained the shore, concealed himself under the arrival of a Genoese or Spanish vessel, escaped to Spain or Italy, where Mercedes and his father could have joined him. He had no fears as to how he should live. Good seamen are welcome everywhere. He spoke Italian like a Tuscan and Spanish like a Castilian. He would have been free and happy with Mercedes and his father, whereas he was now confined in the Chateau d'If. Confined in the Chateau d'If, that impregnable fortress, ignorant of the future destiny of his father and Mercedes, and all this because he had trusted de Villefort's promise. The thought was maddening, and Dantes threw himself furiously down on his straw. The next morning at the same hour, the jailer came again. So,
what the hell is Villefort's plan?
Yeah, I don't know. And this would kill you if you were like, I had that moment of opportunity. You know, I did nothing, but I could totally have just, I'm a good swimmer. I could have gone in the water. I would have made it. I had a shot, and I totally blew it. You know what else this reminds me of, actually, is another film called Old Boy. Where just the first bit where he's in that prison.
I know, it's
and he doesn't know why. It's torture. He has no idea why, though. It's like Dantes is in the same situation. It's like, why? What even happened just now? Why am I in this mess? No one's told me anything. I'm no lawyer, nothing.
Almost the worst thing.
Yeah.
Because if he knew why, if he knew he was being set up,
he could defend himself.
By Danglars, he could be pissed. He could start planning. He could start thinking how he's gonna, who to talk to. But this, he doesn't even know who the enemy is to fight. Yeah. That's probably most crazy. Oh, we got a comment.
Yeah, someone was saying, the joy of coding. Hey, Mike, cool stream. I don't think I've caught one of your reading streams before. Hey, just cuz, good to see you. Just cuz is someone who I see periodically on the Joy of Coding streams, which I do on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And yeah, Em and I have been reading the Count of Monte Cristo. You can find the rest of the videos. If you're catching us at Chapter 8, I've posted the rest of the videos. They're on YouTube. You can just find Em and Mike read a book, Count of Monte Cristo on YouTube.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right.
Okay. Well, said the jailer, are you more reasonable today? Dantes made no reply. Come, cheer up. Is there anything that I can do for you? Wow. I mean, this is a very accommodating jailer. I have a feeling if this was like a modern jail, I mean, I've never been in prison. I would never want to be in prison, but I suspect that they would not be this accommodating. I wish to see the governor. I have already told you it was impossible. Impossible. Why so? Because it is against prison rules, and prisoners must not even ask for it. What is allowed, then? Better fare if you pay for it, books, and leave to walk about.
That's nice.
I do not want books. I am satisfied with my food, and do not care to walk about, but I wish to see the governor. If you worry me by repeating the same thing, I will not bring you any more to eat. Well, then, said Edmund, and if you do not, I shall die of hunger. That is all. Wow. The jailer saw by his tone he would be happy to die, and as every prisoner is worth 10 sous a day to his jailer, is that the unit of currency?
I have no idea.
Okay, 10 under? Sous is under, right?
I imagine it's S-O-U and then plural.
Okay, okay.
But I don't know what that is, so.
He replied in a more subdued tone. What you ask is impossible. But if you are very well behaved, you will be allowed to walk about, and someday you will meet the governor, and if he chooses to reply, that is his affair. But, asked Dantes, how long shall I have to wait? A month, 6 months, a year. It is too long a time. I wish to see him at once. Ah, said the jailer, do not always brood over what is impossible, or you will be mad in a fortnight. You think so? Yes, we have an instance here. It was by always offering 1,000,000 of francs to the governor for his liberties that an abbe became mad, who is in this chamber before you. Wow. I mean, what a coincidence. So what do we have here? We've got, I guess, them docking. These photos are out of sequence. Here he is in prison?
Yeah, maybe. Scroll down. What is it? Does that have a caption?
I think this is them, like, there's no caption, but I presume this is them docking outside the Chateau d'If.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. It's gotta be out of order. Yeah.
Unless this is the prison where he was waiting for them to take him to the boat.
Nah, that seems like the place where they left him.
Yeah. Alright. How long has he left it? 2 years? Was he liberated then? No, he was put in a dungeon. Listen, said Dantes. I am not an abbé. I am not mad. Perhaps I shall be, but at present, unfortunately, I am not. I will make you another offer. What is that? I do not offer you 1,000,000 because I have it not, but I will give you 100 crowns if, the first time you go to Marseille, you will seek out a young girl named Mercedes at the Catalan and give her 2 lines from me. It's a pretty good deal. Oh, is this the under jailer? He's in pretty good garb.
Yeah, I guess so. I was expecting at least like one of those bobby hats.
Yeah. Everyone's just so fancy. With that pop collar. It's not really pop, but it's just like wide open. All right, why don't you close this out?
Also, he does have a little nubbin on his chin.
Yeah, he's got a little beard going, but I guess he hasn't shaved. He's gonna have a big beard. You're right. When this is all over, I don't think they're gonna have him cut his hair or anything. They're not gonna give him a blade.
I know, it's gonna be a Jumanji beard.
Yeah. What year is it? All right, take us home.
Okay. If I took them and were detected, I should lose my place, which is worth 2,000 francs a year. So that I should be a great fool to run such a risk for 300. Well, said Dantes, mark this. If you refuse to tell, at least to tell Mercedes I am here, I will someday hide myself behind the door, and when you enter, I will dash out your brains with this stool.
Whoa, bold. Day 2, threatening a guard.
Strats! Cried the jailer, retreating and putting himself on the defensive. That explains the photo illustration. You are certainly going mad. The abbé began like you, and in 3 days you will be like him, mad enough to tie up. But fortunately there are dungeons here. Dantes whirled the stool round his head. All right, said the jailer. All right, since you will have it so, I will send word to the governor. Very well, returned Dantes, dropping the stool and sitting on it as if he were in reality mad. Why wouldn't you sit on a stool? Maybe he's sitting on it like a crazy person, like just.
Also, what's he doing? He's not agreeing to talk to Mercedes. He's agreeing to talk to the governor now?
I guess so. I guess he's like...
He kind of upped the ante, all right.
Yeah, I don't know. The jailer went out and returned in an instant with a corporal and 4 soldiers. Oh, maybe he's just saying that to lie to him.
Oh, yeah, okay.
By the governor's orders, said he, conduct the prisoner to the tier beneath. To the dungeons, then, said the corporal. Yes, we must put the madman with the madmen. The soldiers seized Dantes, who followed passively. He descended 15 steps, and the door of a dungeon was opened, and he was thrust in. If he was not in a dungeon before...
I guess it was more like a prison cell, a jail. He had a bed of straw. I got a feeling a dungeon is like, you have nothing. Like, maybe...
But what did he have before? No window, no light?
They would give him food and water and a bed of straw. He had a stool.
All right, he did have a stool.
He had a stool.
The door closed, and Dantes advanced with outstretched hands until he touched the wall. He then sat down in the corner until his eyes became accustomed to darkness. The jailer was right. Dantes wanted but little of being utterly mad. The end of chapter.
Crazy times.
Crazy
okay,
times. So
wow.
horrible.
The plot thickens. Yeah, it's getting a little dark. You know, it's getting pretty dark here.
You know, I feel like Dumas is doing a really good job of, like, I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm right there with Dantes.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it, and, like, this is horrible. It's, like, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm. I also, we were watching a video on French history to give us a sense of, like, the timeline, because there's, like, some historical context here. I'm sorry if I'm, like, telling you stuff. Apologies, hold on. Do they come in pairs? They do travel in herds? They do travel in herds. All right. We read up on, or we watched a video on French history, and what we know now is that, like, the French Revolution happened first. You know, like, the people were poor, they were hungry.
Yeah.
The Les Mis, basically. Like, the upper classes were like, oh, we're having golden cakes and stuff. And, like, the people on the ground were starving to death, and, like, there was a revolution.
Yeah.
Big revolution, Robespierre, that whole thing. And then it was chaos. And then in and amongst that chaos, I mean, part of the thing was, like, the transition from, I think, feudalism to... like the king to, like, a form of government, like democratic representative government, some kind of representative government. Mm-hmm. And during that whole transition is when I think Napoleon came to power. Just 'cause likes the travels in herds joke. I did that for you, just 'cause. Yeah, Napoleon rose to power, and all the royalists, they kicked out all the royalty. The royalty was exiled.
But then Napoleon made himself
an emperor.
And, like, the paintings were all, like, you know.
He was trying to bring, like, the Roman sort of emperor style.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just trying to be like the Romans.
Pro tip, if a leader a very charismatic leader starts like just kind of does this, shows up out of the blue and starts saying that we need to bring Rome back. It's a bad sign. It's a bad sign.
Run away.
run far away. Vote no.
Krill, run away.
Yeah. So anyway, that they think that Dantes is a supporter of the Bonaparte sort of system, and I guess because like after Napoleon was exiled, I'm not. That's the part we didn't get to in the video, so we don't actually know what happened. But presumably, the royals came back, and that's where we're at, where the royals are back in power, and they remember, oh, Napoleon, that guy, what a jerk.
Very.
And anyone who supported him, what a jerk.
Time of great upheaval.
Yeah.
Don't want that guy again.
Yeah, don't want the revolutionaries. That guy was a tyrant. That sort of thing. So, that was Chapter 8. Thank you so much for watching us read Chapter 8 of The Count of Monte Cristo. We're going to probably cap it there. We're going to read Chapter 9 in a couple of days, and I'm really enjoying the book. I'm digging it.
Me too. We've definitely kind of turned some kind of corner, picking up speed. I really am curious to know what the hell is going on in Villefort's head.
Yeah.
That rat bastard.
Yeah. There are mysteries still to untangle yet. Yes, that's the other thing. There's like some unknowns there. We're going to find out more about the characters and like the plot. Yeah. And more will be revealed. That's very exciting.
More will be revealed.
So thanks again for watching Em and Mike read a book. And we'll see you soon. Take care. I'm Mike.
I'm Em.
And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.